Alright, this problem says, given the 10 scores listed here, what's the rank from the top of a score of 87? Well, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your numbers are in order from smallest to largest, and I see that they are. And then we count from the top, meaning from the highest score until we get to 87. So 1, 2, 3, 4 makes 87 the fourth score, and that is its rank, also known as numerical rank. What is the percentile rank of the score of 87? Well, recall that the percentile rank formula is percentile rank equals total minus numerical rank divided by total, and then you get a decimal that you multiply by 100 to convert to a percent. So in this particular problem, 3b, we would take the total number of numbers, which is 10, minus the numerical rank, which we just found in part A to be 4, divide by the total, which is 10. This gives you a decimal of 6 divided by 10, which is 0.6. Multiply by 100 so that you get 60%. And that's the percentile. You could say 60th or you could say 60%. Either is fine. For part 3C, if you recall that the quartiles break down to the first quartile is the score at the 25th percent, the second is 50%, and the third would be at 75%. So what we want to do is actually find the score that breaks this into the first quartile and the third quartile. So I'm going to take, excuse me, change 25% to a decimal, which would be 0.25, multiply by the total number of scores, which is 10, and you get 2.5. Since we're dealing with whole number scores here, just lop off, or what we call truncate, off that decimal, and we're going to say it's 2 scores below. So here you start counting from the bottom. The bottom 2 scores are 65 and 73. They are in the first quartile, and the score at the first quartile would be the next score of 74. And then you just do that for part D, but instead of using 0.25, you use 0.75 because that's the value for the third quartile. So 0.75 times 10 gives you 7.5. Once again, truncate the decimal to mean 7 scores below. Count from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the next score, 89, is the score at the third quartile. They have special names, that's why we call them first quartile, third quartile, but part E and F, they're done the exact same way, but they don't have a special name. So instead of using 0.25 or 0.75, you convert 90% to 0.90 times the total number of scores, means 9 scores below. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It would be the score of 92. And for F, same thing. 80th percentile, convert that to a decimal, 0.80 times 10 is 8 scores below. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's the next value, 91. Problem number 4. In a class of 40 students, Ray has a rank of 30th. What is his percentile rank? We found the formula in the last problem. It was total minus numerical rank divided by total times 100. So the total here is 40 minus the numerical rank of 30 divided by the total 40. And when you do that, you're going to get 10 over 40, which is the decimal 0.25. Multiply that by 100, and you get his percentile rank as 25th percent, or again, you could write it as 25%, either way. Number 5, a stem and leaf. The thing to remember about the stem and leaf is that you want to create a chart. The left side is the stem, and the right side is the leaf. The stem refers to the highest digit, so in this case the highest place value is the tens place, and the leaf refers to the lowest place value or values. In this case it would be the ones place. So our numbers range from 63 to 100, so my stems are going to go from 6 to 10. So all of the leaves or values in the 60s go on this leaf with the 6, and make sure that you put them in order. So my first value would be 63 and the next one would be 69, so we'll put 3 and then a 9. Notice there are no commas and they do put the leaves in order. And just so that it makes it easier, I'm going to cross those values out as I use them so I know I've got them all. So now move to the 70s. I have two 70s. I have 75 and 78, so the 5 is smaller, so it would come first. And the 80s, I have three values, 81, 85, and 88, so that would be 1, 5, and 8. In the 90s, I have one value that's repeated there. I have two 94s, so I will write 4 twice. And then, of course, the last value is 100, so its leaf is a 0. Now remember, with a stem and leaf you need a key. That means your user of this chart here needs to know how to read this data. It could be that this is 6.3. It could be that it's 6,300,000. Until you tell us the key, we don't know how to interpret this information. So our values mean the 6 is the tens place, the leaves are the ones place. So pick any number in the chart, it doesn't matter. I'll pick the first one, and I'm saying the stem of 6 with a leaf of 3 equals 63. That gives anybody that's trying to use this data a key to understand what the values actually mean. Okay, let's do number 6. This is a circle graph problem, and you need to remember that in a circle we have 360 degrees, so that's going to come in handy when we get to that point. Total budget. Add up all of these values and I get a total budget of $2,150. Now what we want to do is find the values for rent, utilities, groceries, cable internet, miscellaneous, and savings. Those are the different categories. So I'm going to, in order to find how many degrees of the circle I use for rent, I need to take the amount of money spent on the rent, which is $1,000, divide it by the total budget, and I'm going to get a decimal value. Don't round your decimal, but because I'm not using a calculator right here, it's about 0.465. Now is when I multiply by the total number of degrees in a circle, 360, and here is where I round, and I'll get 167 degrees. Notice it says round to the nearest degree. That means no decimal values in your final answer. And we'll do this for each of the values. The utilities was 300 divided by 2150, and that was 0.1395 roughly, multiplied by 360 and round 50 degrees. Notice we spent the same amount on groceries as we did utilities, so I don't need to repeat that calculation. It's also going to be 50 degrees. Cable is half that, so it should come out to be 25, but let's check. 150 divided by 2150 gives you the decimal 0.0698, multiplied by 360 and round, it is indeed 25 degrees. Miscellaneous is also 150, so that would also be 25 degrees. And then 250 for savings. And I multiply here, I'm dividing, pardon me, and I get a decimal of 0.116. Now multiply by 360 and round to get 42 degrees. Recall that we said the circle needs to have 360 degrees in it, so you need to check because we did some rounding here. So anytime you have rounding, you should verify. So when I add all of these degrees up, I only get 359 degrees. Well, I'm missing a degree, so I need to add 1 degree to the largest value and make that one 168, so that I do indeed have 360 degrees.